A big part of who I am is who I'm not anymore. You ever look back at old versions of yourself and hardly recognize them? Not because you hate who you were or not because you're embarrassed, but you've changed so much that the person you once were seems like someone you used to know instead of someone that you still are. Recently, I came across the quote, "A big part of who I am is who I'm not anymore," and that kind of hit me harder than I expected. Because usually when we think about growth, we usually think about what we've gained. More confidence, more wisdom, more experience, more self-respect, more money, more anything. We hardly think about what we had to lose in order to become who we are today. You lose versions of yourself. I've lost versions of myself. The version that constantly needed everyone's approval. The version that stays quiet to keep the peace. The version that accepted less than I deserved because I was afraid of being alone. The version of myself that somehow thought that being loved means being needed. The version of myself that thinking working hard would heal deep wounds. Maybe you've lost versions of yourself too. Maybe there was a time that you tolerated things that you would never tolerate today. Maybe there was a time where you doubted yourself so much that you needed someone else to tell you who you were. Maybe there was a time where you stayed in situations that were hurting you because leaving felt scary. But look at you now. You're still here, and that's the part that people don't talk about enough. Growth doesn't always mean adding something. Sometimes growth means taking something away or subtracting something. Sometimes becoming yourself means unbecoming everything you already are. Think about it. We spend years trying to build ourselves. We're gonna wait on that guy. We spend years trying to build ourselves up, but some of the most important growth comes when we finally let things go. Letting go of old habits, old relationships, old fears, old beliefs. The hard part about letting go of things that hurt us is that they still feel familiar. As humans, we love unfamiliarity. We would choose a familiar path that's still causing us pain than an unfamiliar one that's gonna lead to less pain. We choose these paths more often than we realize. That's why growth feels uncomfortable, because every new version of you requires you to lose an old version of yourself. And I'm not saying literally you're gonna lose yourself, but emotionally, spiritually, and mentally, there's always a goodbye when it comes to growth. A goodbye to the expectations you carried, a goodbye to the person you thought you had to be. A goodbye to all the stories you told yourself. For a long time, I thought healing would feel like becoming a completely different person. But now I realize that healing is becoming who you were before fear started making decisions for you. It's not becoming someone new, it's returning to yourself. A stronger version, a wiser version, maybe even a more honest version. And when I look back to the old version of me now, I don't despise them. I don't regret the decisions that I made. I thank them. I thank the old, insecure version of me for surviving things that I never thought I would survive. I thank the people-pleasing version of me for doing everything it could to keep me safe. I thank the anxious version of me for doing the best it could for what I knew. Because every version of us serves a purpose. Without them, we wouldn't be here, and maybe that's something you need to hear today. You don't have to hate that past version of yourself to grow, and you definitely don't have to be ashamed of them. You can appreciate them and still leave them behind. You don't have to live in your past forever. Your past isn't who you are. It's just your foundation, and there's a huge difference. Just one of the biggest lessons I've learned is that growth doesn't always happen super dramatically and loud. Sometimes it's super quiet. It's not always a big breakthrough moment. Sometimes growth looks like walking away from an argument you would have entertained or lost your marbles about a year ago. Sometimes it looks like setting a boundary without feeling guilty. Sometimes it looks like choosing peace over proving a point. Sometimes it looks like not explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Sometimes it looks like resting before you've earned it. Believe it or not, that's growth too. It may not be flashy or it may not be impressive to everyone else, but it's life-changing for you. And if you're in a season where you feel lost, maybe it's because you're in between versions of yourself. The old you doesn't fit anymore, but the new you hasn't fully arrived yet. That's a confusing place to be, but it's also a beautiful place. More often than not, transformation looks messy in the middle. Maybe the mindset, the relationships, the ideas, the goals, the aspirations maybe could have even changed and they're no longer carrying you. The caterpillar probably doesn't even understand what it's going through when it's becoming a butterfly. All it knows is that what worked before doesn't work anymore. Just be proud of the growth, even if it's slow, even if you're still figuring things out. Because every day you're making choices that the old version of you couldn't make, and that's definitely worth celebrating. The version of yourself is possible because of the person you've stopped being. So, a big part of who you are is who you're not anymore. Like and subscribe.